When I received it, I probably had about a week left to live when I got it. The palliative care coming in to look after me and stuff like this. Lack of oxygen, that lack of trying to be able to get a breath.
We're interviewing this very special guest. His name is Lar, double lung transplant survivor. Yeah, just delivering down to the hospital. Came across Lar, gentleman, and we heard a little bit about his story, and you know, here we are. We want to show the world what's going on. We hope you enjoy. So Lar, how old were you when you got your double lung transplant, and why?
So 11 years ago almost, it'll be 11 years next month, I received a double lung transplant. I suffer from cystic fibrosis, so it would have been diagnosed when I was 9 months old, and I suppose as a kid growing up I would have had to deal with this in and out of hospital and stuff like this. But come maybe 12, 13 years ago, things would have got worse, and I would have spent a lot of time on oxygen and stuff like this as well. And this is why then the transplant is the only option then at that point, you know.
And what was it like for you, like when you needed the lung transplant? How was it for you, like during that period of time?
Well, I actually spent 4 years almost in Vincent's Hospital. That's where I would have been looked after. An amazing team that looked after me there, you know. So I suppose some people try and explain it as it's like if you blocked off your nose and put a straw in your mouth and start trying to breathe, and that lack of oxygen, that lack of trying to be able to get a breath. But the constant treatment around the clock care that you needed, as I say, 4 years in Vincent's, I come to a point then where there was no other option bar transplant. And when I received it, I probably had about a week left to live when I got it. The palliative care coming in to look after me and stuff like this. Yeah, so things were getting it's getting very close, but thankfully we're here to tell the tale here, you know.
And your organ donor, what happened? How did that come about? Like, how did you? Because it was a bit of a miracle how it happened, wasn't it? Like, really.
Yeah, well, look, it's that's why I do these interviews, is to honour him as much as I can, and try and keep myself as well as possible to honour him, because I think of him every day. And obviously in his family's worst moments, they made a decision which ended up saving up to 6 people's lives, including my own, and I can never, you know, thank them enough. It's not even a thank you, you know what I mean? He's a hero in his past, and he was able to save these people, you know. So that never leaves me. It never leaves me. That decision that the family would have possibly had to sit down and make is an incredible. And all I can try and do is trying to be the best version of myself for me, my family, for him, and for his family, you know. So that's kind of all you can do, really, you know.
I thought it was very interesting what you said in the car about you were saying that as soon as you got the transplant that you wanted a box, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought it might have been just the fact that I had a transplant and was probably going to be fitter now. But straight away I wanted to do a little bit of boxing and that, and it turned out he had done a bit of boxing, and it's in his family very much. So maybe there is a few little traits that's passed over that way, like, you know. So I was lucky enough to be able to do a white collar boxing match in his honour, pretty much, you know, and to show and to highlight what can be done after transplant, you know, and what can be achieved, you know.
So Lara, just touching on what Joe was saying there and adding on to that from that, like, what advice would you, or what words would you give to somebody that's contemplating being a donor, or somebody that's unsure about the whole thing and they don't know what to do? Or
yeah, I'd be very much on the side of things that people can do whatever they wish to do. I'd never be negative towards someone that didn't want to be a donor, because it's very much a very personal thing.
Yeah.
But if someone maybe thought about it, or seen there's so many people waiting on transplants in this country and that, like, you know, I suppose the biggest thing would be to have the conversation with someone at home or their next of kin of their wishes, because at the end of the day it will be down to the family in that horrible time, you know, to make that decision. almost for you and to sign off on that. So it's very much have the conversation is the biggest words of advice. And again, I would never, now I'll need another transplant myself at some stage, you know, but I would never sort of be negative towards someone that wouldn't want to do that. You know, it'd never be that way. But again, I would encourage anyone that if they had those thoughts of maybe wanting to do that, to donate their organs, if it came to it, then maybe have that conversation with someone at home, or so that somebody knows their wishes, you know.
Exactly, yeah, okay. And as well, just touching on that, well, I know that it must have been hard for you when you were very young to understand, try and come to terms with all this sort of stuff, like, but what would you say to somebody that's in that position as a young person?
Yeah, I was 29 when I got my transplant, but I always knew even as a kid, I knew like this will probably come to this at some stage, you know. And it's very, very difficult, especially as a teenager. I suppose it's very difficult to kind of get your head around that, and watching some friends pass due to cystic fibrosis and the nature of cystic fibrosis, you know. There's a lot more new drugs and stuff like that, and help out there. But yeah, like just for anyone that was in a position that I was in, is to keep fighting, you know, and try to just do what you can in terms of fitness and stuff like that. That's what I was very much driven by. That, like, you know, I felt that would help me. But yeah, to talk about it as much as you can. There's people who have had transplant like myself out there willing to talk to people and help in whatever way we can, you know.
Brilliant. In terms of today, how are you today?
Yeah, health-wise, you know, there's talk now. I have like stage 5 kidney disease, and I have liver disease and stuff as well. Lungs are still very good. I still do need hospital admissions from time to time. How I met you guys in there, which can be hard, especially on the young fella, like at home, you know. But yeah, still need treatment, but you know, it could always be worse. And at some stage, I'll probably need maybe liver, kidney transplant. That's down the road, you know. So, but positive outlook. Try to be as fit as possible, and that's all we can do, you know.
And when you say you need to be as fit as possible, like what kind of sports? You're always very into the sports and fitness. Like, what do you do today, or what's possible?
Yeah, so I'm mad at my football course, you know. So we were lucky enough to set up a transplant football team, Transplant Football Ireland, 5 years ago, and take parts in different competitions around the world, basically, you know, with transplant football. So it's great to be helping out with that at the minute. And I get involved in that, train every couple of weeks with those guys who are all amazing. And that's like different. Like I had a double lung transplant, so you'd have someone there, maybe liver transplant, kidneys, heart, bone marrow. So it's great to be part of that, and there's a great bond within that team of lads, you know. So that's great to be part of that. Just that little bit of football. Now obviously there's days when I'm tired and I can't do a lot of training. I would have been fitter a couple of years ago, but just with the liver and kidneys. But those issues were always going to happen to me due to my cystic fibrosis as well. So I can't dwell on stuff like that. We know there's going to be hospital admissions, we know that, but try and be as fit as possible when you can, when you feel good, train, recover, and that's kind of the way I look at it, you know.
And what would be your plans now for the next 5 years?
For the next 5 years, I have it in my head that I want to spend as much time as I can with my little fella, with my boys, you know, and family. I love that bit of family time, obviously, but I'm not in a position to be able to work at the minute. But at some stage, I'd like to get back and do maybe a few courses and stuff like that, and see where that takes us. But and we'll see what the plan will be for the next transplant, if there's going to be one, you know. So we'll just play it by ear, take every day as it comes.
Well, I have to say, Lara, you're an absolute inspiration, and I really do wish you well in the future. You're a gentleman.
Thanks a million.
And you deserve all the best.
Yeah.
Honest
Thank
to God.
you.